Hey everybody, this is Pat Torpy from Mr. Big, and you're listening to Music Mania.
You ready for some screaming heavy metal? We rock!
But the evil that men do lives on.
We gonna bang your head!
You are now listening to the Music Mania podcast, brought to you by CD Warehouse in Gladstone, the #1 hard rock podcast in the Midwest, featuring hard-hitting interviews with rock's living legends. And now, here's your host, Clint Switzer.
Welcome to the first Music Mania podcast of 2018. I am your host, Clint Switzer. Hope you guys had a wonderful, safe, and happy new year. We are off and running with the year 2018. So many big things coming up. Of course, later on in the spring and summer, we are just sort of battening down the hatches here for the rest of the winter, but a lot of big things coming. And to commemorate our first episode of the year, we have a huge guest coming up on this show. It is Mr. Carmine Appice, one of the great rock drummers in history. Of course, we have had his brother, Vinny Appice. Yes, they pronounce the last names different. Vinny, of course, has been on this show. Previously, of course, Vinny made famous in his role in Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell, playing with Tony Iommi and Ronnie James Dio, Geezer Butler. And of course, Vinny and Carmine have made an album together. It's called Sinister. The Appice brothers together on this very heavy album with some amazing guest stars like Bumblefoot, Joel Hoekstra, Tony Franklin, Phil Soussan, Jim Crean, Paul Shortino, Robin McCauley, and so many more turning out for this thing to help put together this project. We're going to be talking to Carmine, of course, about that, as well as the book that he just came out with back in 2016. It's called Stick It, My Life of Six, Drums and Rock and Roll. Of course, you can get that still on Amazon. Just a great read. There's some unbelievable stories from, really one of the great drummers in rock history. You're talking about Vanilla Fudge. Of course, Carmine played with Rod Stewart. Blue Murder, a band I really enjoyed. King Cobra. He's been inducted into the Classic Drummer Hall of Fame back in 2013 and the Modern Drummer Hall of Fame back in 2014. The guy's been around, done it all. He's got a million stories. We're going to be catching up with him in just a moment to talk about that. And before we do that, I just can't thank you guys enough for joining us. Everything you do, hitting that subscribe button on iTunes, YouTube, either way you decide to listen to the show, sending us feedback. Of course, Twitter, @MusicMania_show. We always appreciate the feedback. And with that being said, guys, we want to bring on our first guest of 2018. It is Mr. Carmine Appice, one of the great drummers in rock history. Carmine, welcome to the show. How is everything going?
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm in LA and having so far it's a nice and it's been warm in the day and really cold at night,
Well, I'd feel sorry for you, Carmine, except for it's 22 degrees here in Kansas City today, and we're.
I came from New York. I've been living in New York and LA. Come out here for the holidays all the time. But last week when I was there, I left on Sunday. Saturday it was like 20 degrees, and I said, "Oh man."
Well,
I'm glad to go to LA.
Sounds like you escaped at just the right time, Carmine. But I tell you what, it's been a couple months since the release of the Appice Brothers album, Sinister. I want to talk about that because what a fine album it is. This thing, and you even do a vocal track on this. Your PR just sent me this over. You even do a vocal track on this. You got me running. It's a great track. Just kind of talk about what the reception's been like for this album. It's been out a couple months now. I think it's really heavy hitting, very melodic, good stuff, man.
Oh, thank you. We had a good time doing it. And, it was like, we've always done these Drum Wars shows. We've done, I don't know how many shows around the world, maybe, 80 shows in the last 5 years, 6 years, And, we never really thought about doing a record until last year. I mean, we did a live record thinking that, that would be a good thing to do, a live record because it's a live show. But our manager that we hooked up with last year said, it would be really a good idea to do a record and really establish you guys as a rock act, and not just like a show where people wonder, well, is it a drum clinic? Is it a rock show? What is it, So we said, well, that's a good idea. So he said, we can do a Pledge Music campaign, raise it, because we said, it costs money to do a record. The record deals today are not very good for rock artists, unless you're like, even that, Van Halen's and people like that, nobody's on major labels no more.
Sure.
And so he said, well, look, we can do a Pledge campaign. I said, okay, well, I never did one. I've heard about them. I never did one. But he said, yeah, you can raise money. He managed Anvil, too. He said, we did it with Anvil, and it worked great. So we did that, and right in the middle of that, we got the idea to use this song, Monsters and Heroes, which I had recorded with King Cobra, and we had given it to Wendy Dio from Ronnie James Dio's foundation, the Cancer Foundation. So I said, play this for Vinny. Vinny loved it, and then we said, well, look, we could use this song as the demo, possibly to get a record deal.
Yeah.
And we did, and they loved the song, and they loved the idea that, the guy that sang the song, Paul Shortino, used to be managed by Ronnie, and I know Ronnie for years, and Vinny played with Ronnie, so it was like a natural, so then we got a Pledge Music campaign happening, and then we had a record deal. I said, wow, this is pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
Once we got the deal, then it was like, okay, now we have to make a record.
Well, it's excellent, and you've got some really heavy hitters on this thing. You talked about Paul Shortino. You've also got Robin McCauley from MSG. Chaz West, Scotty Bruce on vocals, Jim Crean. I mean, guys like Craig Goldie. There's so many links, to not only to Dio and former members, but from King Cobra, of course, Paul Shortino. Your buddy Johnny Rod came in to do, I think, a bass part. Who, by the way, is the craziest interview we've ever had here on Music Mania, and you can understand that.
I'm sorry. You interviewed Johnny?
Yeah, I wasn't prepared for that. It's the first time I've ever lost control of an interview completely.
He is a total cadet, space cadet. I love him. He's a good guy. He's a really good guy.
Well,
he's a handful. Let's put it that way.
That is a nice way to put it. But there's so many great guys on this. I mean, so many guest stars, and you, like you said, you do the vocals for "You Got Me Running." Is singing something that you've done? I know you've done a lot of like backing stuff, but is this kind of one of your first, lead?
No. I sang my first vocal on a big record in 1967. I did "People Get Ready" with Vanilla Fudge.
Vanilla Fudge, yeah.
And then I did most of the vocals for BB-8. And then I did a solo record in 1982. I did all the vocals on that. I did another solo record in 70 something that came out later, and I did half the vocals on that. There was half instrumental, half vocal, but I did all the vocals pretty much. Yes, I've been singing leads for a long time. That song, I was going to sing Brothers in Drums too, but when I went in the studio that day, my allergies were kicking up like they are now, and I just couldn't get out of my voice what I wanted to. So I got a friend of mine who was in the studio with me to sing that song, and I wrote all the lyrics and melodies and stuff for that. And but I've been singing for a long time, and then "You Got Me Running" came right off my iPad. It's like in the night, I write songs on the GarageBand on my iPad.
Sure.
And "In the Night" came from that as well. We basically copied the iPad performances that I put on myself. I played guitar, bass, drums, keyboard, and the pretty much the melodies. So especially "You Got Me Running." Every lyric and everything, I wrote everything on the iPad, and then we just listened to the song, and I had it played by proper musicians with me playing drums, and it came out great. Now, basically, when I do it on the iPad, I play drums with my fingers. So here I put the full drum set on, and we got who played bass on? Tony Franklin played bass on it. Who I love. He's one of my favorite bass players. And it came out great. I mean, it worked exactly the way I wanted it to sound, and then Jody picked that song to be the radio single. The Monsters and Heroes was was the actual first single across the board. We get it on a lot of the heavy rock programs around the country and around the world, and the video. And You Got Me Running, she picked for regular radio because I didn't think that, but she did, and a couple other radio programmers picked that song.
Well, they didn't take your opinion at all, I guess. Like, oh, we got it.
No, not at all. But it's fine with me, and the record, actually got us on some Billboard charts, which I hadn't been on in a long time, and so it made us sort of a little more current,
Sure, it's a great concept. Of course, your brother, your brother Vinny, one of the, you both being two of the great rock drummers in history. Vinny, known as one of the harder hitters in drum, in rock history. Just talk about the challenges of kind of recording two different drum tracks.
We did different. We recorded differently. You got my tea kettle going on.
That's okay.
Basically, when we started doing the record, we had songs. We had the idea to do, sort of like what we did in our stage show, where I played some historical songs and Vinny played some historical songs by himself. So we figured we'll do at least one historical song apiece, that we can play by ourselves. So with Vinny, we did the Sabbath Mash, right? And with me, we did Riot, was Blue Murder. So we had to. Well, the Sabbath Mash we did live anyway, so we knew how to play that. And we got two Japanese girls that play with us, the Okai sisters. They play bass and guitar, and we rehearsed with that, and we went into the studio basically with 6 song ideas, And we went out here in L.A., and we went into Jorgen Carlson, who plays with Government Mule, bass player. We went into his little studio, and we put down those 6 tracks. And when we use a second drum set, we can only have one drum set on at one time. So when, I put a track down, then Vinny would have to go put his track down. He used my drums. We retune the bass drum. We put a different snare drum on, maybe bring a couple of his toms in, put the toms on my kit, and then we'd have a different sounding kit for him.
Sure.
And then he would play with the click and play his parts against what I did. So we did that on the first 6 songs, and then after that, then we got guitar players in that sent us tapes, tracks online, on files, and then we took those tracks and it was first, we would give it to maybe Paul Shortino to write a song, or Jim Crean to make a song out of it with lyrics and melody. And then we'd put the bass on it, and then I would do drums, and I'd send it to Vinny, and he would do drums, send it back to me. And that's basically how it went down,
Well,
and then we had the idea to do the right and the left drums in the mix, from the get-go. But we didn't use it on the whole album, One track we did called Suddenly, Vinny started and I played, and Vinny and me, we were down the middle of the mix, but we played, different sections of the song. So we like that, but that didn't work as good to me as the right and left, and Vinny too. So the next record we do, we're going to do the right and left pretty much on all the songs except the ones that we play individually.
Well, it's a great album, Carmine. I mean, it's just as heavy hitting, very melodic, very hard, very heavy, as you would expect from two of the great drummers in rock history. And you guys, it's we're right before Christmas here, but you guys get ready to head off to Europe. You got Poland and Germany coming up. You got a bunch of live shows coming up over across the seas, and then you come back to the States at the end of January.
Yeah, we're heading out on January 2nd. We're going to end up in Poland. The day before we actually play. We have a band. See, the way we've been doing this is we have different bands around the world, We got a band in Europe, we got a band on the East Coast, a band on the West Coast, and that's how we've been playing it. If we have West Coast gigs, we use the West Coast band, But Jim Crean pretty much goes all over, except in Europe, we have another guy that we used in Europe who was really good, so we're going to use the European band over there. And then we come back, we do the NAMM show, we're doing the Heavy Metal Hall of Fame Awards. I'm getting inducted. Vinny was inducted last year. And then we're going to play 2 of the songs. So that's going to be great. And then right after that, we play with Ace Frehley.
Yep.
In New York City. And then we have a little break, because Vinny's going to go out with Last in Line at that point. I have some Vanilla Fudge stuff to do. And then we're going to regroup, and we have March 25th at the Cutting Room in New York, and then we're trying to put some other shows together around that, And then we go back to Europe next May.
Absolutely excellent. A lot of live stuff coming up, and I tell you, it's crazy that it's been over a year now since your book came out, which is one of my favorite rock memoirs. It's Stick It: My Life in Sex, Drums, and Rock and Roll. I want to talk about the book because let's just say that, Carmine, for those that haven't read it, you did not pull any punches to protect the innocent or guilty in this book. It's a full-on great stories, man. What a great book, and what's the reception been like? Here we are a year later.
Yeah, well, the book came out and it did okay. I was sorry that it didn't come out originally on the book. It was just originally supposed to come out on VH1 Books. I think it would have done a lot better on VH1 Books. But it came out on a big indie label, and a big indie label doesn't have the clout as a major book label. It's just like a record company,
Sure.
So it did okay, but I think it would have done better if it had to come out on the original deal. But unfortunately, VH1 Books went out of business just before we finished the book, and that was really too bad, because the writer who wrote my book and Nikki Sixx's Heroin Diaries, she did such a great job, rewriting stories and making them really, like compelling and stuff, and we worked hard on that book. And we worked hard on it for a year, and before that, I've been working on this book for 20 years.
Yeah.
Wow. I started it in the 80s, So I was really a bit, I wasn't that happy with the results, but what are you gonna do? So I'm over it and on to new other things. I got it out. Maybe somebody will read it, and some producer or screenwriter will say, "Hey, this will make a good movie. Make a movie out of it." Yeah.
Yeah, and you get Zac Efron to play you, and it'll be perfect from there. I mean, that's.
Yeah,
well, another thing, you talk about, so many bands celebrating anniversaries of things, so many classic bands, but you are celebrating, Carmine, your 50th anniversary in music. Of course, the first Vanilla Fudge album came out in 1967. Here we are, 50 years, man. I mean, just does it seem like that could be possible? I mean, just you've had quite a run, my man.
Well, let's put it this way. I couldn't believe that I remember my father used to say, "I know that guy for 50 years." I go, "Wow, that's a long time." That's how long I know these guys in Vanilla Fudge.
That's unbelievable.
So it's kind of a crazy thing to see that. And he also told me, my father said, when he was like 77, and I'm almost his age now, so I'm 6 years away. And he said, my brain still feels 17, but my body is, definitely getting older. And I said, when he told me that, I sort of related to it, but I really related to it now. As you get older, your body starts changing, and this and that. So, whenever I'm up there playing now, and I'm doing my solo, and I'm playing really hard, and I'm going, God, am I going to be able to do this in 10 years when I'm 80? So we'll see.
Well, there's no signs of slowing down yet. And I always wonder because Vinny's he's 10 or 11 years younger than you. Growing up, of course, you were a musician from very you enjoyed the percussion and musicianship. At what point was Benny the Vinny, the pesky little brother, trying to play drums? I mean, were you kind of annoyed by that, or how did it kind of come about that he?
Well, no, I wasn't home when he started playing.
Okay.
I was already gone from the house. I was already playing with Vanilla Fudge and being a rock star around the world. When he started playing, I just happened to go home and see, that that Vinny was learning to bang on my drum set, So when I saw that, I immediately noticed the talent. And it says it in the song. I noticed the talent that he had, and then I said to my parents, well, we should send him to, for drum lessons to the same guy I went to, So that's what we did. And he started when he was really young, and basically I think he studied for 3 years. So by the time he was 11 or 12, he was technically really good.
Yeah.
He had all the techniques down. And then it just went from there. And I remember I read I honestly read my book.
Yeah.
But,
yep.
Well, there's that scene, that story where my mother gets a call from Rick Derringer.
Yeah.
And my mother says, Rick says, I want to talk to Vinny. She goes, oh, no, you want to talk to Carmine. She couldn't believe that Rick Derringer was calling, to talk to Vinny.
Oh, that's great.
That was pretty funny. Yeah.
Well, you guys have both been so accomplished, such wonderful. We from all that you guys have done, we could talk about every musician you've ever worked with, but that would take us until 2018, Carmine. So we just want to thank you for joining us today. I know, it's early out there in LA, man. So we just hope you have a wonderful holiday season. You can get this album, guys, on CarmineAppice.com, as you can get the link to that. Of course, the book.
Actually, you can get the book on that. The album you can get all the normal places. I don't have the album online because we didn't want to do that right now. We wanted all the sales to go to the label and scanned and all that stuff.
And it's of course available on iTunes.
You can actually get it at Amazon and mom and pop stores. You got vinyl, you got CDs, you got the whole bit. So
absolutely,
it does the streaming and all that stuff too.
All of it, absolutely, Carmine. Well, I tell you what, best of luck on this tour. We will catch up with you when you guys come back to America. Hope to catch a show one of these days, my man. And can't thank you enough for joining us. Catch up soon, and Merry Christmas to you and your family, my friend.
Okay, thank you, man.
You bet. Thanks a lot.
All right, cheers.
And a huge thanks to Carmine Appice for joining us here on the Music Mania podcast. Definitely somebody I've always wanted to talk to. One of the great drummers in rock history, of course. You know the work, from Vanilla Fudge to Rod Stewart, Blue Murder, King Cobra. He's done it all. I want everyone to check out the album Sinister. He's done with his brother Vinny. You can go to his website, CarmineAppice.net. And, of course, you can find that album Sinister on Amazon, iTunes. Check it out. It is definitely worth it. Some great guest stars on that album, guys coming in. Of course, guys like Robin McCauley, Paul Shortino doing vocals, Joel Hoekstra doing on guitars. You got Mike Sweda, you've got Johnny Rod, you've just got a lot of guys in there. And of course, the Appice brothers are linked to basically every musician that's ever played in hard rock. So, no, it's just a great album, and we want to thank Carmine for joining us and for you guys for checking out the interview as we forge ahead here in 2018. So many good things coming up, so many big things, big interviews. Next week, I think we're going to have a double shot of a podcast. We've got Happy's going to join us from Hairball. If you guys haven't seen Hairball, they are coming to Kansas City on January 12th, Friday night. Be sure to check them out. They're a bombastic celebration of 80s arena rock, one of the best tributes you will ever see. It's so intricate. They've got pyro. It's a big show. And Happy, the guitarist, is going to be joining me to talk about that, their return to Kansas City. And Gary Peterson, guys, founding member, drummer from the band The Guess Who, one of the biggest bands, of the early 70s. You think about American Woman and how big that single was. Canadian Hall of Famers, The Guess Who, what a influential, amazing group. Gary's founding member, drummer. He's going to be joining me to talk about their upcoming shows. They've got some shows coming up, so thank you guys so much for joining us. Keep it tuned right here on the Music Mania podcast all the way through 2018.